Hi guys, this is Ranjay here, your presenter come instructor for the class today and the webinar today, sorry. A very warm welcome to all of you for being a part of the webinar now, and happy Diwali to all of you who are based in India, and those of you who are based outside India. This is actually a week of celebrations in India, so that's the reason why you might have some disturbances throughout the session today, because crackers are going continuously being burst outside, and there's a loud noise outside. So let me quickly start with my introduction, and meanwhile what you guys could do is quickly give your names in the questions window that you guys have. Quickly give your names as well as provide the locations that you guys are from. People specifically from outside India, if you could just write your country name and write your name followed by the country name, that would really help. Okay, my introduction first. So basically I am an alumni of BIT Mesra and then MB, and then I've done my MBA from IIM Lucknow. Have almost, so now I have close to 10 years of experience now, and my experience spans across manufacturing as well as IT. And typically if I have to look at my IT experience, it's across the entire span. So I worked in technology consulting, strategy, business development, which is pure pre-sales roles, as well as in process consulting roles. Core sectors that I have worked on are basically healthcare, retail, consumer goods, and some of that for some technology related clients. And if I have to look at my technology domain expertise, that's mainly in IT strategy, and secondly in CRM technologies. Within CRM technologies, I'm a certified Salesforce.com administrator, which is known as 201 certification. In terms of my training experience, I have conducted training sessions both in terms of through classroom trainings as well as through virtual sessions. So that's a brief background about me. And so before we start today's session, let me quickly go through the question. Okay, so as I see, most of you who have joined the session today are from India itself, and okay, across India. So I have people from Chennai joining, Bangalore, Nagpur. Okay, thanks guys. You can keep posting. Meanwhile, I'll just start a brief introduction. Okay, so we have actually someone from outside India. We have Raghunath, who has joined in from Kenya. So, okay, guys, you can keep posting your comments and your whereabouts and your name. Meanwhile, let me start with the session today. So basically what we will talk about and why have we all gathered here is, one, to understand in terms of what CRM is all about, what is Salesforce.com, and more importantly, what is this course about from Edureka all about. Before we start, let me give you a quick background in terms of what is it that this course is going to do. This is typically a course which is aimed for people who are looking at either a business analyst kind of positions, people who have a fair amount of experience, not in CRM, but in general in IT systems, so they understand not just from an IT perspective, but they also understand some of the basic business perspectives. I'm not talking about from a very core business perspective in terms of how deals happen and so on, but generally in terms of how is it that some industries operate with, whichever industry you guys have worked on. The basic fundamentals across industries remain the same, and that's the reason why. So when we look at this course here from Edureka, and the course that I will be taking over 8 modules, 16 hours, it would typically be for people who are aspiring to be business analysts. That's one. Second would be Salesforce.com functional consultants, and third would be Salesforce.com administrators. Because this is the kind of course where people who are joining the course would basically be given a feeling about, one, what are the various aspects about Salesforce.com CRM, how is it that CRM aspects are met through Salesforce.com, and finally, if we have to look at Salesforce.com as a software, what are the features of Salesforce.com software, then how would you configure those features in order to get the what we call as out-of-the-box solutions for clients. Now, of course, there's a world beyond the out-of-the-box solutions, which is basically development-based solutions, which is based, or if I may call it, coding-based solutions, which obviously Salesforce.com is very, very strong in. But as a part of this course, we will restrict ourselves to the configuration bit, because that in itself is a huge bit in terms of understanding what are the features, when do you use what, and what kind of requirements are met in which manner. That's one. Second, when we look at development related exercises, generally the aim of an organization is always to get someone who is able to explain the business functionality in such a manner that it can then be configured. So if I have to talk in a technology sense, someone who can prepare the functional spec doc or the functional specification document. Now this is one course which will help you to get acclimatized to how functional specification documents are written. It will help you to break down a solution into bits to understand how do you prepare your functional spec doc so that then the technical team can take it up and develop the technical spec doc, right? So overall, if I have to look at this course, this is a course which is primarily looking at people who have at least some bit of an initial background, either in technology, or people who are starting afresh and are looking at a very CRM focused career. Second, for whosoever is joining this course, something that needs to be kept in mind is this is a course which will help you to become a business analyst or a CRM functional consultant, or someone who is looking at a CRM or a Salesforce.com administrator. Right? Now I have spoken about a lot of terms here in terms of CRM, Salesforce.com, functional consultant, administrator, and so on. Let's now try and see what all of these mean. And basic guideline about the session today, the webinar that we are having right now is, for the next 20-25 minutes, I will take you through some of the slides which will be overview slides about CRM and Salesforce.com. You can keep posting your questions regarding the topics or questions that are coming to your mind, and say by around 9:30, 9:35, I will start answering the questions you guys are posting on them through the questions page. I'll answer the questions for the next 10-15 minutes, and we will typically try and wrap this session up by 9:45, 9:50. Guys, I hope that sounds good. So with that, I will start with the basic CRM overview. So what does CRM mean? So the basic thing about CRM, it's a buzzword in the industry right now. What does CRM mean? It's basically a way of managing a company's interaction with its clients and sales prospects. 3 simple words to describe CRM, right? Customer relationship management. All 3 words look simple. All 3 words look very coherent when you connect the 3 across, right? But there's a bit more beyond just the 3 words, and the beyond part is, so when you look at customers, your customers are always threefold. One, they are your existing clients whom you would always want to continue being a part of your client group, right? So this is basically a CRM typically always tries to look at how do we retain our existing clients, because they give you a steady business. Second, there are always a lot of clients who are, yes, they are with you, but their share of business for you has gradually either not increased or has gradually decreased over time. These are kind of accounts are what we call as dormant accounts or dormant clients. Aim of CRM is how do we target specific goods and services to these kind of clients to energize them? How is it that we can give them a specified bit of that incentive which will get them to work, get them back to working with us? And finally, third one, something which is bread and butter for all companies, how do we get that new client? Where do we get that new client from? What will help us to get some new client who is kind of interested in our products, who is kind of interested in our services, and who is ready to take the amount of time and money, invest that amount of time and money in our services, in our products. Now, some of the simple examples which basically help us to understand CRM is something that I have mentioned in the slides here. You'll see a lot of the ladies here who are attending the session today. They generally see a lot of these customized offers from cosmetic brands, which they'll get either in terms of the SMSs on their mobile phones, on their smartphones, and so on, or maybe some vouchers which they get through emails and so on. How is it that these companies or these brands are targeting you? The reason behind, or the basic work which happens in the back end, is there's a huge amount of customer profiling which is done. Based on that bit of customer profiling, there's customer segmentation, customer targeting, and as a result of all these activities, there are specific campaigns, specific marketing campaigns which are launched with these cosmetic products in order to get some of the people to use these products and share their experience across their peer group. Another example is supermarkets give a lot of these customized deals or a lot of customized, what can I say, discounts to people based on the kind of cards they hold, based on the kind of services, what I may call in terms of the different kind of loyalty patterns that they have. How do they decide all this? How do they decide what specific discounts do they want to give? At the back of all of it is a CRM system which is helping you to make sure that there's a certain customer group with a certain type of purchase pattern. Based on that purchase pattern, these are the goods on which I should provide some deals, which will get the customers come to my store time and again. That's CRM. Traditionally, how is it now? How is it that companies and customers have worked? Now, if you look at it, generally there has always been a 360-degree gap between a customer and an organization. On one hand, customers like us have always gone back to companies and said that, look, we want specific responses, we want quick answers, we don't want to waste a lot of time in getting answers to our questions. We want products which are flexible, products which are aimed just for us. I don't want a huge product out of which, say, out of 10 features, I only use 2 features. I need a system that's less bureaucratic. I need information availability. That's what customers have always wanted. On the other hand, organizations have always harped in terms of their internal costs. They have always tried to look at higher revenues, lesser cost, lesser maintenance people, and so on. Now, when you look at these two sets of requirements, you will see that they're just diagrammatically opposite to each other. Now, when we talk of CRM systems, guys, now this is the point I want to talk about. A CRM system comes actually in between a customer and an organization, and it helps to connect the two sets of blocks together. How? A CRM system will make sure that even with lesser personnel, you will be able to provide specific and quick responses to the customers. That you will only provide specific services that your customers want. And at the same time, you will be able to generate revenues at the end of all of it. So, a CRM system is what really came up when companies started realizing that there's a need to connect your customer and your internal organization together. Because on one hand, your customers make sure that the business keeps growing. if you don't have your internal organization in order, you can't service your customers. That's the end truth of the world. So if we look at the 4 blocks here on the slide right now, which basically talk of the importance of CRM, you will see anywhere in the market anyone talking about CRM. People talk a lot nowadays in terms of being cloud evangelists, in terms of being what can I say, they people being cloud enthusiasts and so on. They're basically talking always of 4 things. One, they're always talking of continuous interchange of information, exchange of information across customer touchpoints. A touchpoint is generally any mode of communication between a customer and an organization. Second, a CRM system helps you to make sure there's a personalized products or services based on specific needs. Third, a real-time access to all customer information. This is paramount. Nowadays, you can't keep wasting time to receive information. You want that information then and there itself. Otherwise, your attention span gets lost. And finally, a consistent user experience across all touchpoints. There's no point unless you get a customer experience that's consistent. How so? Simple. I just saw a couple of ads from Ola Cabs a couple of days back. One of the ads said, if you are a new customer, you get 100 rupees off. Second ad said, log into Ola Cabs app for the first time and get your first ride free. Now my first ride is never ever going to be less than 100 rupees or within 100 rupees. So how do the two differ? Right? That's where a consistent user experience is very important. Because for me as a customer, if I thought that I'll use Ola Cabs for the first time, I might feel cheated if my first ride does not become free. If I see that only 100 rupees gets deducted from the amount. And that's the reason you need all these kind of consistent user experience related features to work for your clients. So in order to provide all these 4 sets of features or sets of benefits to customers, how is it that CRM systems gradually happen? Although this diagram on the screen right now, it shows something of a transition from 1960s to today, but CRM systems are not that old actually. Although they existed in some form or the another, but what generally happened is towards around the 1980s, end of 1980s, or even say a little late, towards the 90s, mid to end of 90s. What happened is that's the point of time when companies slowly started realizing, look, I have now my internal systems in place, systems which will be able to take care of some of my basic internal organizational needs. If I may have to name some systems, that could typically be the ERP systems like SAP, Oracle. I generally have my databases available. However, I am not able to generate that amount of insight which I want to do about my customer, because at the end of it, it's the customer who is paying, right, for all that I'm buying in my company in terms of servers, networks, and so on. Now, in order to get that connect, initially companies started with huge on-premise traditional systems, what typically in the CRM world is known as systems. It's now an Oracle product, a product that's actually breathing its last, typically because it couldn't cope up with the market, and companies have found better substitutes to Siebel. Now these kind of systems, the traditional systems or the on-premise systems as we call them, these systems needed a huge amount of infrastructure in terms of some space to keep the servers, networks, dedicated networks to make sure you have internal company connectivity. You couldn't use those systems from outside your companies. If you had to, you would have to build another set of virtual networks and so on. Gradually, as the new millennium started, that's when this new concept around on-demand cloud-based systems started coming. This is where a company like Salesforce.com was born. What did these companies say? These companies said, we are very clear. We don't want you. When I say you, these are big companies again. So Salesforce.com said, we don't want companies like, say, Nike, Levi's, Burberry. We don't want you guys to invest in your server. We don't want you guys to invest in your work. What we will do is, we will host the Salesforce.com application, which is a CRM application, on our own servers, on our own platforms. And all you need to do as a customer is just log on to that server using an internet connection and a internet connected device. With the internet boom which was happening towards mid to end of 2000s, this became a reality. Cloud-based systems are a reality now. Everything is almost cloud-based. So even nowadays, I see nowadays a lot of ads coming up where companies are talking of cloud-based versions of even ERP systems. That's the way the world has moved. Now, if we look at cloud computing, now this term is becoming a lot more familiar now, right? And guys, just to be frank with all of you, right? I know there's a lot of noise which is coming in from outside. I'm sure you guys are getting a feel of Diwali already. Those of you who are in cities where Diwali hasn't yet been celebrated and it will be celebrated tomorrow, it's like a initial, what can I say, a precursor for all of you. Okay, coming back to cloud computing, guys. So basically, again, a simple term, but means a lot of things. Cloud computing. When I started working, or rather when I would say when I started, when I joined an IT company for the first time, and when I heard these kind of terms, cloud computing and on-premise systems and so on, these really confused me. I still don't really approve of the fact that IT organizations can't talk with very straightforward English. They have forgotten what straightforward English is all about. But gradually, over time, I understood that cloud computing is nothing. It's a simple reference to the fact that you're using an internet-based computing system. You're just using your computer, mobile, tablet, or so on, connecting through the network, connecting through the internet, and reaching out to a software or a platform or so on, wherein you are able to access some functionalities. That's all cloud computing means. But then it has a lot of implications. First implication, with a cloud computing system or a cloud computing software, there's one very important feature called multi-tenant. Now, multi-tenant, think of it in this way. There's a big hostel which has been created by some company as smaller companies. We rent out small bits of spaces of that hostel or say of that whole building for working. Now what happens? Each of us have our own space. Each of us have our own set of infrastructure. However, that infrastructure need not be maintained by us. It's maintained by that one company who has built that entire building or built that entire hostel. So it's like a hostel where a number of people are staying in different rooms. Everyone has his or her own room. Everyone has his or her own set of infrastructure to carry out their day-to-day activities. However, the capital expenditure related to that room is not yours. Second, pay per use and scalable. I combine these two together, reason being, say today you think as a company that I want only to rent out one room or say some 100 square foot of space. Tomorrow you realize, look, my business has increased, I want double that space. I now pay only for double that space. I don't pay for 5 times the space in order to secure that amount of space and so on. So it's a pay per use model. You pay for as many licenses of in cloud computing as you want. If you want 10 licenses, you pay for only 10 licenses and more. Tomorrow you increase that number to 15 because you have been able to get new people onboarded. You then pay for additional 5 licenses and you pay for 15 licenses. That's how scalable these kind of cloud computing systems are. Now there are two aspects to cloud computing, which is there in the next couple of slides. First aspect is known as software as a service, SaaS, and second aspect is known as platform as a service, PaaS, PaaS. Now simple way of distinguishing between the two. SaaS is basically you are hosting a software through the internet which is accessed by different companies and different people using internet-based technologies. A prime example of this is Salesforce.com. The software, Salesforce.com, which is a CRM software, it is hosted on the internet by the company called Salesforce, and people log into this software to get all their work done on CRM. Of course, I don't think I need to get into the business benefits of all of it, which is listed in the from the second bullet point onwards. But understand it from this perspective. When you have an entire software available through the internet, the entire worry about having to make sure that the software remains, what can I say, it remains specific to your business in terms of hosting that software, uptime, making sure that patch upgrades happen properly from time to time and so on. All that worry is gone. Companies, when they look at these kind of SaaS software as a service opportunities, software as a service kind of opportunities, meaning applications, say like Salesforce.com, immediate thing that strikes the mind of the CTO of the company, Chief Technology Officer, they immediately understand that they don't have to invest a lot of time, money and people to worry about that software. It's something which is done centrally. All they have to worry about is in terms of the central administration of the software, in terms of licenses, renewal of licenses, making sure who sees what, security and so on. That's all they have to worry about. That's software as a service, SaaS for you. Second one is called PaaS, or platform as a service. Now imagine just from that software as a service, I remove that software. However, I provide you a coding platform on which you can build applications from scratch. In that kind of a scenario, it becomes a PaaS system, platform as a service. One example of platform as a service is Force.com, which is basically, I would say, a stripped down version of Salesforce.com. You can write a lot of code on a plain vanilla Force.com platform and you can achieve a lot of business functionalities there. Now starting with our parts on Salesforce.com, you will see I have a lot of slides in terms of what Salesforce.com is all about and so on. Right now is not the best time to talk about what all Salesforce.com does, but rather we will look at some of the key aspects that Salesforce.com works on. First and foremost are the three blocks on the left hand side, top left hand side. Sales, marketing, service. This is what constitutes bread and butter for Salesforce.com as a company or a product. The entire life cycle management of a sales, a marketing or a services. Services typically mean post-sale services. Managing the entire workflow around it is where Salesforce.com is way better than a lot of other products which are available in the market. Reason being, very simple. One, Salesforce.com has one of the best security features available in the market. Second, it's one of the simplest to use for business users. And third, it's as easy to configure Salesforce.com as you can think. So there are companies which have gone live with their Salesforce.com implementations in less than 3 to 4 months. These kind of timelines for an entire system were simply unheard of when people started working with Siebel systems. Siebel implementations took almost a year, 2 years to complete. On the other hand, Salesforce.com implementations don't last beyond 6 months. seldom have I seen Salesforce.com implementations lasting more than 6 to 8 months, and that too with rollout across 20-25 countries. Right? So this slide actually talks about some of the basic features of Salesforce.com in terms of having one of the best integrated databases, ability to connect to various systems through web services APIs, having a very defined workflow engine which helps you to make sure that the user experience is very well connected and it's a seamless experience. One of the simplest configurators in terms of fonts and pages, and the way in which the pages look to users is just mind-blowing. Features in terms of access controls, end user administration, these are basically security related features. The ease with which Salesforce.com helps you to connect to the internet, or rather connect to the internet even using something like, say, a mobile device and so on. What Salesforce.com or how Salesforce.com has helped is, earlier coding based systems where simply took a lot of time to develop. Reason being, there was a lot of coding involved. So almost 80% of the overall system development had to be done through individual coding. Whereas for Salesforce.com, you can do it by simple, what I termed as configuration, what I termed as an administrator. 80% of system requirements can be met. That's the beauty of Salesforce.com. Now, as a part of Salesforce.com, what we typically have is something which is known as Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and the Service Cloud. Sales Cloud is basically something which helps you to manage the overall sales life cycle for any company. And within this life cycle comes the part around trying to get in touch with your customers, understanding who are the key decision makers in those for those customers, and then trying to win new deals from these customers. That's the Sales Cloud for you. Within Sales Cloud, there are a lot of modules which are listed down in a diagrammatic format below. Second is the Marketing Cloud. The Marketing Cloud is basically a way of managing your marketing related services. So say Edureka sets up a stall outside an SEZ in order to try and promote its services, its training related services. Now setting up that stall is a marketing campaign in itself. It's a marketing event in itself. Now making sure you're able to track who all are coming, who all are showing interest in your training services, what kind of training services are they interested in, and finally at the end of all this, have you actually been able to generate that interest and make sure that that interest now results in a business opportunity for Edureka. This is marketing. This is the end-to-end marketing, from a campaign to something that in Salesforce is known as a lead management, to finally what is known as an account management and an opportunity management. This entire gamut of activities is what is covered under Marketing Cloud. Finally, the Service Cloud. It's, as I said, it's a post-sales service, which is basically companies joining in, or rather people joining in to talk about their feedback on products, people joining in to talk about their experiences on products, people joining in to tell about issues that they are facing with the products. Now, although you will see a lot of slides here which will basically talk of some of the specific aspects on Salesforce.com and so on, I want to take today's time to explain to you what is it that will be covered as a part of the training, because that's what we are trying to explain here, right? This session is not something where people will understand Salesforce.com in entirety. This is not the purpose of this session. As a part of this session, what I'll tell you is, we have a course which is known as CRM Salesforce for Beginners. As a part of that course, you will initially be familiarized with CRM technologies, just some of the basics of which you just learned today, right now in the last 20-25 minutes. There is a lot more to all of this. Once you are done with that, once you understand what CRM systems are all about, what cloud computing is all about in a lot more detail, after that we will discuss specifically in terms of What are the Salesforce.com prime features in terms of business objects? How do you maintain your information within Salesforce.com? What is the data model? How do you make sure your Salesforce.com business objects interact with each other? That's around Salesforce.com relationships. And one of the ways in which relationships is depicted is this. So the diagram you saw, this is a diagrammatic relation of how the marketing cloud gets coupled with the overall business objects relationship within Salesforce.com. In addition, what you'll also learn is a detailed understanding of the various Salesforce.com tools which are there. In terms of now these tools that I'm talking about, each of these tools will be discussed in a lot of detail in the course. When I say discussed in a lot of detail, what will be done is we'll have a theoretical part to it. There's the second part, which is basically all of you as a part of the course will have your individual, I will explain to you how you to create your individual Salesforce.com environments on the internet. That's a free environment. Remember, it's not a trial environment. It's an environment which will remain with you for your entire life. I got my first environment almost 6 years back. I still do a lot of research on my environment just to remain conversant with the new happenings that are happening in the new happenings which are coming up in Salesforce.com. So as a part of that environment, I will also show you how each of these tools that you see in blue on the left hand side, how are these configured in Salesforce.com? What are the functionalities that are configured? What are the steps in that configuration? And finally, when you configure that, how is it that it finally translates to a business user who's seeing it on a plain screen? So an end-to-end implementation exercise or an implementation experience is what you get as a part of joining the course on Salesforce.com, which is the course name is CRM Salesforce.com for beginners. Now, if you thought that's all that is there as a part of this course, let me say that this is just the tip of the iceberg. What you have as a part of this entire course is 8 modules spread over 16 hours over 4 weekends. So 4 weekends, Saturday, Sundays, 8 days, that's 8 modules. Each class would be of 2 hours, that's 16 hours. But in those 16 hours, it would just be me explaining the various features and all of us going through, people who would join, they would be able to go through the various configuration related aspects. Beyond that, there's a quiz at the end of each session that you will have to answer. So guys, let me be very frank with you. People who are going to join this course should look at this as a course where they will not just get familiar with Salesforce.com, where they will have to answer a lot of difficult questions about Salesforce.com, and they will have to study from their end as well on Salesforce.com in order to ace the quizzes. If you thought quizzes are the end, that's not done again. I have assignments, at least one assignment, maybe more at times in some of the modules, that will either be done in every session or you will have to be prepared with your answers at the end of that session before the next session. Plus, every even numbered module, so modules 2, 4, 6 and 8 will have case studies, huge case studies from my real life implementation experiences that you will have to submit in a documented format. Where do you submit? How do you submit? It's all done through an edureka LMS portal. As a part of that edureka LMS portal, you get 2 things. One, you will have a one snapshot place where you will have a list of all the modules. You will have class recordings for every session that is done. You will have your quizzes there. You will have your assignments there. You will have your case studies there. In addition, the second part is there's a support window. To that support window, you can post your questions, whichever you have If you have any doubts after the end of the session, you can post your questions and submit it to the support team. The support team will send those questions to me and I will personally answer them. In addition, you will submit your assignments and your case study through the same support window, and I will check the cases, the assignments, cases, and the solutions, and I will rank and I will mark them in terms of how well those solutions have been provided. How well have you thought logically to provide the service, and so on. Right, guys? So all in all, I hope some of you or all of you are enthused by what we have in store as a part of this training. What you can continue seeing on my screen are some of the Salesforce.com features. So right now the feature that you see is reports and dashboards. Now we have almost one entire module where we will learn how do we create reports and dashboards, like using just normal clicks, using drop downs, dragging and dropping files. How do we get business dashboards out in half an hour, 45 minutes, so that business users are able to see the performance? Right. So all in all, guys, all that I've been talking about, here you have. It's a summary of all that I've been talking about from the module or the class starting perspective. Right now you will see that the batch starting date is known as 14 November. That date might become 21st November. I am yet to finalize that with the edureka team. Timing will of course be, although it says here 8 AM to 10 AM, that's again an incorrect bit in terms of the timing. Timing will be 8:30 AM India time to 10:30 AM India time. Right, so that's the overview of the course and so on. Now I will go on to the questions, and you can keep posting your questions in the questions window. First question from Gaurav Kapoor. Hi Gaurav, welcome to the webinar. First question from Gaurav is, will it be helpful for me if I am having 7 years of experience of C and C++ avionics? So Gaurav, a couple of things. First, there have been people who have taken up this course with 15 plus years of experience. I think in the IT world, you'll need at least 5 years of experience. As I said, I would like people with some experience and background on IT systems to come in, to join this course and be a part of this course. Of course, freshers are welcome too, but then they would need a lot more orientation in terms of how the industry is and what are some of the nomenclatures which are used. So definitely with 7 plus years of experience, you are well poised to understand CRM and look at the next 10 to 15 years at least on CRM systems as a career option. Next question from Raghunath. Salesforce.com is built on which platform? Front end, back end? So Raghunath, my guess is it's built on an Oracle platform. Salesforce.com doesn't really divulge this information, and you would never be able to reach the back end. So what happens is Salesforce.com exposes it's exposed at a certain level in terms of its APIs and its data tables, but it doesn't allow you to reach the platform. So when you do your entire bit of coding, when you do your entire bit of configuration, you do not actually go out to the platform and do the entire thing. You rather do it on various tables that Salesforce.com provides. Now the question from Leo. Leo asks, in the SF or Salesforce admin track, what all are covered? Is Apex also covered? So just to ensure that everyone is on the same page, Apex relates to the coding related part of Salesforce.com. So Leo, what we will cover as a part of the course is, we will only cover the system configuration part, and we will stop just short of the Apex coding part. Now to answer your second question, what would be the day-to-day activities of the Salesforce.com admin? So the day-to-day activities of the Salesforce.com admin are two things. One, the Salesforce.com admin always collects the requirements, maps the requirements to the various Salesforce.com features, and then prepares the functional spec doc. So first and foremost, the functional requirement doc and then the functional specification document. Once that is done, the system configurator has two things to do. One, the document is passed on to the technical team for their bit of technical documentation. Second, the Salesforce.com admin also works with a group of developers or say configurators to get the system configuration up and running. Leo has another question. For the admin certification, does it test the knowledge of theory or practical based, or are practical based questions expected? So Leo, the answer to it is theory based questions would be say like 20-25, maximum 30%. 70% of questions of Salesforce.com admin certification are all practical application based questions. There would be some small case write-ups, which is like 7-8 lines of case write-up. Based on that case write-up, you will have to select the options. So a theory-based answering or a theory-based learning doesn't help. How complex is the certification, admin certification? So the answer to that, Leo, is when you pass the examination, it's easy. When you don't pass it, it's always complex, right? That's it with all certifications and with all courses. How is this training useful? I believe this is from a certification standpoint. So there are two things to this. First, a lot of the quiz questions that we have, and based on my having taken the certification and having explained the certification part to a number of people, the questions that we have as a part of the quiz and so on are very closely related to the certification questions that are there. But then remember, Salesforce.com certification questions, they keep getting updated from time to time. So right now they may be quite relevant. In a few days, the relevance might start coming down a little. So as early as you can take this course and as early as you can practice whatever is being taught in the course in terms of the various Salesforce configuration and so on, as quickly as you can get your hands on, you can then take your Salesforce.com certification exams, and then you can clear that examination, right? Hema has a question. Although I see Hema has left, but I don't understand. So I think she wanted to understand cloud computing. I'm not repeating it because I believe now cloud computing would have, the concept of cloud computing has become clear now. Shaina has a question. Is this course free or paid? Shaina, it's a paid course. The course fee is together with taxes, I think it's somewhere around, in INR it comes to 20,500 or something. You can contact Edureka for the exact fees. Raghunath has a question, is there any other CRM product from Oracle? Right now, Raghunath, so what is there are various versions of the CRM, of the Siebel CRM. So there's also an on-demand CRM which is there from Siebel itself. But all of them come under the broad umbrella of Siebel. What all prerequisites are needed for this course? This is a question from Gaurav, and a very good question actually. Gaurav, just like Salesforce.com actual working experience, for this particular training or the entire training, all you need is a 2 Mbps plus connection of the internet plus a laptop or a desktop through which you can connect to. That's all you need for the training. From a background perspective, you can be both a fresher as well as you can have experience. I think Gaurav, you had only said that you have 7+ experience, so that's not a part to worry about at all. So from that perspective, you are fully covered. To join this course, all you need to do is you need to contact Edureka. They will give you a separate LMS portal and portal links and so on. They will give you every week. They will send you a go-to meeting or a webinar link. You just need to join the webinar on Saturdays and Sundays from 8:30 to 10:30, and I would be there for the course. From Raghunath, the question is, can we know the architecture of the software? Raghunath, I don't think this is the right time with the audience that we have to talk of the architecture, because that involves looking at the entire Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Service Cloud. How is it that the objects are linked to each other and so on. Join us for the course and we will discuss the architecture details a lot more. Okay, Raghunath, okay, sorry. I didn't get your second question in terms of how can we, do you mean to say how can we be the sales partner of Salesforce.com? If that's the question, Raghunath, so what is this? Salesforce.com has some alliance partnerships for every country and for every region. From what I understand, it's a very stringent bit of partnerships. Right now, there are only 8 partners across the world in the highest tier 1 partnership, which is known as strategic partner. SPP is what is known as strategic partner something, strategic partner relationship or something like that. And I think in this partnership you have companies like Accenture, Cognizant and so on. But beyond that, every country or region also has a regional partnership. You might want to check that with Salesforce.com. That's a different part. It's not related to the learning within Salesforce.com. Next question from Leo. The course covers both admin and dev track. Admin requires any development knowledge? Apex knowledge required for admins? Leo, so let me give you my background. When I have started, after I have started working in Salesforce.com, previous to that I was working in a manufacturing firm. I'm a mechanical engineer and have not done coding in almost the last, I don't think I've done coding ever in my job, in my work life. That's almost for the last 10 years or so. So for the admin course, this course that we are talking about, Introduction to Salesforce.com for beginners, we do not need any development experience or development knowledge. We will always stop short of the real development. We will explain what needs to be given to the development team, how does it need to be documented, what aspects need to be covered and so on. Gaurav has a question. Any knowledge on SQL is needed, as I think it's query based CRM. So Gaurav, what happens is, yes, it's a query based CRM, but query is written in a language which is known as Apex, which is actually close to SQL, really actually very close to Java. From what I have after my discussion with the development team over my numerous engagements that I have done. So it's actually something where coding is very close to Java. So people who have background in Java, they are able to acclimatize to Salesforce.com or Apex coding very quickly. But in terms of this particular course that we are talking of, we do not need any knowledge of SQL.com. SQL. Guys, please remember, this is not a development course. This is a pure play configuration. A configuration does not mean development. It means using out of the box features of Salesforce to develop functionalities which are required for clients. At no point will we need a development experience or a development knowledge to get systems running. Right, guys? So that's the end of the questions that I have got. In case you guys have any more questions, you can post it in the next couple of minutes or so, or else I am done with the training from my end, or the session from my end. In that case, I will close the webinar. Happy Diwali to all of you, and hope to meet all of you in the next few days when we start the course. You can get in touch with edureka for further course details. You can obviously get a lot more details. In case you have any more questions, you can obviously put forward those questions. Thanks a lot all of you for joining in. Have a good day. Thank you.